I am now a professional podcaster and YouTuber because I have a microphone. So let's get into it and talk about the Olympics again. The Olympics, you say, didn't you talk about that last time? Yes, well, the shit show continues and it needs to be called out. So last time I spoke about how insulting that woke opening ceremony was with the blue man with his scrotum hanging out and the mockery of Christianity. And this time we're going to talk about the poor athletes, professional athletes who have trained their entire lives for this and the conditions that they are being forced to endure in this Olympic Games. Now, you would have thought that the hardest part about the athletes' experience and time at the Olympics would be actually competing in the Olympics for first place. But oh no, they are being put through the absolute ringer when it comes through just purely existing, living, eating, sleeping. Human rights that are so easy for everyone in the world. Now that we've reached this level of prosperity in our world, pretty much everyone has a comfortable bed. Well, Olympians don't. Pretty much everyone has access to good food. Once again, Olympians do not. This is absolutely hysterical, yet so sad for these Olympians. These are professional athletes. I don't know if anyone realizes, but to be a professional athlete, well, the French certainly don't. To be a professional athlete, you need to have very, very strict regimented routines and regimes. You need to have ample sleep. You need to have ample food and the right kinds of foods. Now, these professional athletes have sports scientists. They have psychologists. They have sleep therapists. They have an entire team assembled. They've put in millions of dollars into these professionals only to go to the highest stage in the world where they're expected to compete at the highest level, and the conditions are literally like prison. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. So you may ask why. Why are the French doing this? Why are they putting these athletes through this hell at the Olympics Games? Apparently, it's all for this green target that they have. Yes. So the Olympics are so woke this time around that they are putting their agenda, their green agenda, their goal to make this Olympics the most green friendly, environmental friendly, low emission Olympics ever. And to do that, they obviously have to cut some creature comforts. For example, the food. So to achieve their goal, they're serving 60% vegan food to the Olympians. Now, I was gobsmacked at this because 60% vegan food in any situation for the population is ridiculous. Because what, 5% of people are vegans, probably less in the entire world? Why would they be pushing this lifestyle onto anyone, let alone athletes who need meat, who need nutrients and the food that they used to fuel their bodies to perform at the highest level? Fancy being so obsessed and blindsided by your agenda that you arrogantly think that you know what's best to feed these athletes. And it's not like they weren't prepared. They thought about this a lot. They got Michelin-starred chefs in to produce this menu. They really put time and effort and money into this, but they did it completely wrong. So the 60% vegan menu is like fake meat, which everyone knows is just full of crap that's really bad for the body. Normal people, let alone athletes, obviously they've got a bunch of veggies and fruits, which is great, but you need a protein, a meat, so your body has all of the nutrients and energy that it needs to compete at these levels. So it's not just the types of food, it's also the amount of food that they get. Apparently they're getting rations. So I shouldn't laugh, but this is insane to think about. We're in the most prosperous time to be alive, and athletes in the Olympic Games are probably eating less than they did back in Athens the first year that they were put on. Like, this is bananas. And it just shows how whacked that our world has become. Of course, the athletes complained, and some of the countries brought their own chefs in. Like, Korea has their own chef. They're making them really great food that they're used to having, including a lot of meat. And also, the French just kind of realized, they were like, oh, we're really sorry, we'll fix that. And now, kind of a week into the games, have decided that they're going to import a ton of eggs and real meat. And like, okay, great, sure, but you're a week late. Like, this should have been done months in advance. And to say that, oh, we didn't know, like, this is a cop-out. They would have doctors on board, nutritionists, sports scientists. There is absolutely no excuse for them not having the correct food for these athletes. Like, it's actually humiliating for that country. And if I was a French person, I'd be coming out and being like, sorry guys, this is not what we all think. Because right now, combined with that opening ceremony, the French are not being shown in the correct light. And I'm sure the light that they want to be shown in, because not everyone in that country have been hit over the head with the communist stick. It's just a few, and it's actually the ruling few. I mean, I've seen on TikToks and on the news that athletes are going out and getting McDonald's. They would rather eat McDonald's to fuel their body than the crap that they're serving in the Olympic Village. Imagine being the Michelin chef coming up with that menu and cooking the food, and having athletes prefer to go to McDonald's, which apparently is supposed to be so bad for you. Okay, now let's talk about the air conditioning situation. So we all know it's the Summer Olympics. It's bloody hot. It's France in the middle of summer. It's July. 35 degrees Celsius tops for the days, 26 degrees at night, trying to sleep in the heat, sweating. Terrible. These athletes need a good night's sleep. And everyone knows that you can't sleep when you are sweltering. It's possibly the worst feeling in the world. So because of this green agenda that France is obsessed with, they didn't have any air conditioning plan for the athletes' village. All they gave them was a bloody fan. One fan in a room, and the rooms are shared. Like, middle of summer, one fan. Now, a bunch of countries foresaw this because they know France and they know what kind of woke utopia it is, and they knew that it wasn't going to work out for their athletes. So, from years ago, they started hoarding air conditioning with a plan to ship them over for the Olympics. So, like Australia, Canada, Great Britain, the UK, Italy, Germany, they all did this. And bloody lucky they did, because the war stories we've heard from the countries that don't have air conditioning, horrendous. We all know that this Olympics has been slower than the rest of them. And I wonder why. It's pretty obvious. The athletes are not comfortable in their rooms. They're not getting adequate sleep, and they're not getting adequate food. That is not going to make for pristine conditions for these athletes to perform at their best. Now, everyone realizes this green agenda is just utter crap. Even the AOC chief, which is the Australian Olympic Committee chief, his name is Matt Carroll, he said, "We appreciate the concept of not having air conditioning because of the carbon footprint." You can sense the sarcasm there. But this is a high performance games. We're not going for a picnic. And good on him. Like, this is ridiculous. They're treating this like a year 3 track meet. It's an absolute kick in the guts to all of these athletes who've trained their entire lives, have dedicated their entire existence, literally waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go swimming training, sacrificing family and study and social life to get to these games. And then this is how they're treated when they're there. It's absolutely disgusting, because you're offering up athletes these cardboard beds, which was my next point. They're sleeping on cardboard beds with these tiny thin mattresses. Australia had to bring in mattress toppers as well, just so the athletes could get a decent night's sleep. These tiny single beds that are made of cardboard, recycled cardboard, to add to this green agenda again. And the rest of the furniture in the athletes' village is made out of recycled bottle tops and recycled shuttlecocks. Like, is this a joke? Are we living in Legoland? Oh, and just one point about the air conditioning that I forgot to tell you was that they had this innovative cooling, geothermal cooling system that they were going to use instead of the air conditioning. It's supposed to be carbon neutral and not contribute to any more carbon emissions. But it failed. Well, of course it failed, because all green initiatives fail. We simply don't have the technology to have these green initiatives work when we need them to. This is what always happens with green energy. We've seen it time and time again with solar power, with wind power. These are great things, and I'm sure this geothermal cooling system is great as well when it works. The problem is these things are so unreliable that 50, 60, 80% of the time, they don't work. And that's just simply not good enough in a situation like the Olympics when everything needs to be perfect 100% of the time, because these athletes have way too much on the line to risk not having perfect conditions. And the hypocrisy of all of this. Now, they're forcing these amazing stellar athletes, firstly, they don't earn much money. They're going there because of their passion for their sport. On top of that, they're forcing them to live in these horrendous conditions. They're not feeding them properly. They're making them swelter. They're not allowing them to sleep properly. All of these things just so they can compete and put on these games. These athletes should be treated like royalty, because that's who everyone's watching. That is why the money is rolling in for the host country in terms of tourism, for the advertisers, for the media. All these peripheral people who are profiting off the Olympic Games is because of the athletes. And these are the athletes that are being treated like crap. And there is no way that these dignitaries from other countries, that all the officials, that the media, there's no way that they're staying in the same conditions. They're definitely staying in beautiful hotels. They would have flown in on private jets. And the carbon emissions from all of that, and then in a broader sense, look at Euro summer at the moment. Everyone talks about Euro summer. Half the world goes to Europe, Southern Europe, in the middle of summer. The rich and famous from all across the world. You've got your mega yachts lined up at every port. Just go to Monaco or go to the Amalfi Coast. You will see mega yachts upon mega yachts, and the amount of emissions and environmental damage that those things do, coupled with the private jets, all of the emissions just from the aeroplanes going over there, the sky pollution at the moment is insane over Europe. And you think that your little athletes village and keeping meat away from athletes who genuinely need it more than anyone else is going to make the difference? This is a joke, an absolute joke, and it's insulting to these athletes. It's like, yeah, sure, all of these rich people from around the world who wax lyrically and say all the right things and say that they want the world to be carbon neutral. Maybe they even donate a few dollars to it to offset their emissions. It's all crap because their actions show otherwise. And yet the ones who have to deal with the consequences are the athletes, and they do nothing to contribute to the problem. Do you see how this is off balance? Do you see the hypocrisy here? And this isn't just about the Olympics. This happens throughout the year at every single event. We see it at Davos every year, the private jets coming in, the boats. It's the top 1% who make the rules for the rest of us that are actually contributing the most to this environmental problem that they've created, so then they can profit off it.